Welcome back, Canes fans, to the Six Rings Canes show, an extension always of the Five Reasons Canes podcast, but also the Five Reasons Sports Network. Jazz Santana here, joined always by my two main men, Mr. Paul Austria and Danny Gillette. That sounds, I don't know if that sounds right, my two main men. Whatever, man. You're my boys, my homeboys. What's going on, fellas?
Never mind.
How we doing?
No, not yet, man. Not yet. But yeah.
Okay.
Thank you guys for joining. We got a lot. Listen, we got a lot to cover. Paul, Danny, I mentioned this right before we came on, but we didn't talk about last week's scrimmage. So we might want to kind of talk a little bit about it, but we're so close to the spring football game, which is coming up on Saturday. And Paul, by the way, will be at the game as well, representing Five Reasons Sports Network and, of course, the Six Rings Canes show out there. So you have fun out there. It's going to be really hot. I'm probably going to watch it on my TV.
I forgot about that, and I'm like, oh my, it's going to be 91 degrees on Saturday, but it's Canes football.
Yeah, you're gonna be in the press box, so you're fine. You'll get some, you'll get a really delicious sandwich and some chips.
AC.
Yeah, AC
lots
chips.
Of water.
Yeah, please do. Get
some fluids in you.
We're probably going to need you after the show, man. Anyways, and by the way, thank you to my buddy Manny Chang, behind the scenes producing the show as well. You can find us not only on the Five Reasons Sports YouTube channel, but you can also find us wherever you get your podcasts. So Spotify, Apple, Podbean, everywhere. Make sure you follow us at Six Rings Canes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please click the thumbs up button. Give us a like. And, of course, Super Chats. I don't know if the Super Chats is on, but if it is, go ahead and help us out there as well, as we all live in our mother's basement in a cot. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, let's get right to it, man. First off, let's talk a little bit really quick. We'll just kind of recap last Saturday's scrimmage. As we saw, again, thankfully, not too many people get hurt. Maybe some nicks here and there, but the quarterbacks played well again, right? You saw great efficiency from Tyler Van Dyke and, of course, from Jake Garcia as well. Both of them look really sharp, and I think that bodes well for the Miami Hurricanes offense because, now everybody's excited. Now everybody is intrigued of what's going to happen with this quarterback battle again, and nothing's going to happen. Derek King is the number one, guys. So get over it, Canes fans. He's QB1. But it's nice to know that if he has to go down with an injury or he doesn't get to September 4th, I believe it is, against Alabama, you've got a guy like Tyler Van Dyke who can come in, looks the part, is starting to play really well, starting to really understand Rhett Lashley's offense, which is really great to see as well. Because listen, let's just be honest, right? Last year we scored a lot of points, and the Rhett Lashley offense was good, and it was just touching the surface of what he's got planned for this Miami Hurricanes team. So now that we're kind of a year into this offense, Tyler Van Dyke looks like he's starting to grasp it. Jake Garcia looks like the truth. He's just a natural out there already. And listen, don't count out Peyton Matoka, who is actually playing really well as well. So if those guys go down, you can definitely see Peyton Matoka come in. And I think that the Canes offense is really excited to see that. Not only Rhett Lashley, but also Coach Justice, Gavin Justice, right? Did I say that right? Gavin Justice.
Garen
Justice. And Rob Likens. And the rest of the bunch there, Eric Hickson and everybody else, who's really excited to see the offensive line playing well, the wide receivers, at least a lot of the young guys starting to step up. And, of course, the offensive – did I say the offensive line already? I'm going to mention them again because the offensive line is playing so well. So we're excited to see what's going on. And by the way, the defense played pretty well as well. Bubba Bolden with a pick. Corey Flagg still playing well. Avery Huff still playing well. And you're seeing some of the guys. Look, I know we keep seeing the screenshots or the highlights of Tyreek Stevenson and some of the other guys getting smoked. But let's be honest, man. They're putting out the highlights of some of the best plays of the scrimmage. That's not to say that, maybe they were playing some certain coverage. Maybe they were doing something different. Maybe Coach T-Rob is trying to teach certain things. So I'm not going to play too much into what we're seeing from those highlights. But what we're hearing is the physicality on defense. It's Tyreek Stevenson being physical. It's Cam Kitchens being physical as well. You're going to see a lot of play from some of these young guys on Saturday. Talk to me a little bit, guys, and I know I've kind of taken up a lot of it, but talk to me a little bit about what you obviously based off the stats and what you kind of heard from that scrimmage, what you're excited about. Paul, go ahead. We'll start with you, man.
I think the one thing that not even just from the scrimmage itself, but I think from spring practice as a whole, is that Diaz has kind of felt like that this is kind of getting back to the way Miami should play football. I think the physicality that I mean, he's even brought. I think he even brought it up today, where his defenses. When he was defensive coordinator under Mark Richt, I mean, you guys remember those defenses were tenacious. That those he wasn't afraid to blitz on third down. He wasn't afraid to just take a risk. Because I mean, there'd be some times where it would end up resulting in giving up a big play. But that only happened 1 out of 5 times. Where the other 4, they're either allowing a short gain or they're getting a tackle for loss. And I think there's a lot that especially so referring to that scrimmage, at least there's a lot of good signs. I mean, Charleston Rambo definitely did what he came here to do. Caught 7 passes, 107 yards, and a touchdown. Coach Diaz thought he looked explosive all night. Even D. Wiggins, who, he's caught the brunt of, all of our criticism last season. He caught 5 passes, 63 yards, 2 touchdowns even.
Yeah, welcome
Harley
back.
was a little, yeah. Mm-hmm. And Naeem was the leading rusher, 66 yards and 12 carries. And also, they've also, a lot of his teammates have spoke highly of him, but Avery Huff is kind of starting to come into form now. He had 6 tackles in that scrimmage. And, I think obviously a lot of things have been said or, I guess assumed about, why he didn't really play last season, even after he got redshirted the year before. I've heard not knowing the playbook and stuff, but it kind of seems like, he's kind of coming into his own now where he's really putting in the work. He kind of understands what it takes to play at the next level. And, I think with uneasy, or not uneasy, I would say uncertainty at the linebacker position, I definitely think that he can make a name for himself now. And then also, a lot of great PBUs from DJ Ivy. DJ Ivy is also a recipient of a lot of criticism from last season. I think that, I've always felt that he does have the prototypical build. He's very wiry, lanky athlete. And I think that he has the speed and the size to kind of hang with the best of the receivers in college football. And, especially with Al Blades, still being out and recovering from an injury, he's still getting all the first team reps, alongside Tyreek Stevenson. So it's a big spring for him. And Bolden caught a pick, usual. But I mean, and I think circling back to the offense, I think the quarterback competition right now is really fun to watch. I think that it's not like, even though there was a lot of hype surrounding Jay Garcia coming in to Miami, you'd think that he'd still make freshman mistakes, or at least kind of have those initial growing pains in the spring. But it kind of sounds like he's no fluke. I mean, I think if you were Kane's Twitter knows about this, but that one deep throw by Jay Garcia in that video, obviously super nice. It was a very, very nice spiral. And it kind of it looked like it was thrown towards the left side, but then they
show Restrepo,
on the other side, that was weird.
Maybe it was picked off and they didn't want to show it.
Maybe, but that was a very pretty ball. That was a very pretty deep ball. And actually, watching Jake in high school, I always thought he was a good thrower, but I did feel like his deep balls kind of did hang in the air a little too long sometimes. Right. But that throw looked good. That throw looked really good, and he's not even 100% right now. I think he's still suffering from a leg injury that he suffered while in high school. So man's not 100%. He's still throwing long balls like that. I'm totally comfortable with it. And I think that now TVD, like you mentioned, now with the quarterbacks in the offense, they've had a full spring to really understand the offense, not really feel because this is it's a very simple but also very complicated offense where it's so fast paced that you got to know what's going on at all times. Especially if they're running no huddle. Considering especially if the King is running it. So I think that now it's definitely. I don't want to say this is the first time they're really learning it, but now I think there is less pressure learning it.
Well, they're more comfortable in it. They're more comfortable.
Yeah. No, exactly. So
everything starts to slow down. That's the thing, right? You want everything to start slowing down, even if you're in a spread, if you're in a hurry up spread RPO, especially like you said with De'Aaron King, things to start to slow down a little bit. And really quick, because obviously we don't have a whole bunch of time because we got a floor is yours at 8 or whatever it is, 5, whatever they have. They have floors everywhere. Danny, I think that Paul hit on this a little bit when it came to Avery Huff, who's obviously starting to come into his own now. I think that the biggest knock on him is he's more of a tweener, right? He's only about 210 pounds as a linebacker, which is very reminiscent of a guy like Sean Spence that we had here back in the day, who was kind of a tweener, and then as he got older, was able to start putting on a little bit more weight. That's what happens to us when we get older. We start to put on weight. Whatever. Anyways, I digress. But real quickly, is that, I mean, is he going to be able to kind of turn it on, right? You're going to see that he's still a tweener, man. He's still 210, 215. Can he still play the linebacker role at Miami at that, at that weight? Or is he going to have to sub in and out a lot with a lot of other guys that maybe the Troutmans of the world, Sam Brooks, who, by the way, is going to miss Saturday's game, and we'll talk about that a little bit now also. But talk to me a little bit about what you want to see or what you saw from the linebacker position, what you heard from the linebacker position. Are you kind of concerned still with Avery Huff's weight?
I would say yes, only because, like you said, 210 is a little bit small for a linebacker. I don't think it's incredibly alarming, but I do think he could be subbed out and have other players play in his spot. I do think it is a little bit concerning because all season long last year, we were talking about the lack of production at the linebacker position. And I would love to see the unit as a whole kind of get bigger, get stronger, and be really locked in. And I think we're seeing this at all positions this spring so far, that if you're not ready to play or you're not locked in, there are guys and there is depth at many positions to where you could lose your spot or sit out a player, whatever, because now Miami has that depth. I was looking at the defense a little bit, and Cam Kitchens had 5 tackles. And, a lot of the players that we're seeing that are newcomers to the Hurricanes roster seem like they're ready to play right now. You talk about a guy like Jake Garcia. It looks like he's been at Miami his whole career. He's just been throwing the ball really well. So for the first time in probably a little bit, I'd say Miami has depth, and players can be replaced if they don't necessarily fit the mold of what the defense is trying to do. So I do think the weight and the size is a little bit of a concern, but that's something that he has to work on if he wants to get continuous, meaningful reps.
Well, I think the biggest thing is going to be, is he going to be able to hold up 4 quarters, especially like, someone like Alabama and even, the North Carolinas of the world and NC State and Michigan State and all these NC State too, Michigan State and all these. So, but let's talk a little bit about what we got coming up on Saturday. Big spring game. I know that we're missing a lot of guys. Paul, you probably have the list there of all the guys that we're missing. I think that me and you are going to play tight end on Saturday because it looks like all the other tight ends are out except for I believe it's Mammarelli, maybe, because I know Will Maller.
He's out too. I think
he's out too. Jeez.
I believe.
So who is it? Michael Perry.
It's Perry, like the walk-ons. It's the walk-ons. The names that you've never heard of.
Right. So it's going to be tough to get anything out of that tight end position. Well, not tomorrow, Saturday. But we are going to see again. We're going to see this is a little different, right? We're going to see the big boys come out and start hitting a little harder, and it's going to be more of a game as opposed to a scrimmage. Scrimmage is more situational, from what I understand. Although there's going to be more situations here as well. I think it's going to be interesting because with all the guys out, you're going to see a lot of the young guys come in and play a lot. And I think that we're going to see a lot of Avante Williams, which we're probably very excited to see. We're going to see a lot of Cam Kitchens, which Danny Gillette, rightfully so, probably has a man crush on. But that's okay because I kind of do as well. So
guilty as charged.
But we're also going to miss. What's up, Brad? What's going on, buddy? Thanks for joining, man. And we kind of have some. We've got some news on some of the other guys that are going to be missing. Paul, talk to me a little bit about the guys that are going to miss, and who do you expect to step up in this spring game?
I mean, it's a long list. One big name obviously is Bubba Bolden, who did play last Saturday. But I think he is nursing a toe injury, and I think with Diaz mentioned that it kind of is more on the precautionary side that he's not playing. Obviously there's you have Derek King. I think Nesta Silvera is also not playing. Let's see. So it's Bolden, Sam Brooks out, Will Mallory is out, Jeremiah Payton's out, Cleveland Reed is out, and also you have guys like Elijah Arroyo, Blades, Marcus Clark, Takori Couch, Nesta, Balaam are out until midsummer.
Right.
And then the early enrollee lineman Michael McLaughlin and Derek King should be fine for fall camp. Actually, count on Memorelli in that too. That he should be ready for fall camp.
I think Jeremiah Payton had surgery, right, for a meniscus.
Yeah. Yes. It's the initial 4 or 5 guys. No, it's 5, 6 guys. They're mostly precautionary. I think if tomorrow they were playing Alabama, they would play. But I mean, with that less pressure right now, there's no need. And like you said, like you mentioned earlier, if you came to watch the tight ends play, you got to wait another like 5 months for that. But I think it's a huge, dress rehearsal for 2 safeties in mind. I mean, obviously you're going to see Gervin Hall. I mean, there's been a lot of hype with Gervin Hall and how, 2019 he played well, 2020 kind of regressed. And then now when you have T-Rob as his coach, let's see what can happen with him. And
T-Rob mentions that he's one of the best guys he's ever coached, right?
Yes, I think and the things I've always thought Gervin has the ability, and I always bring this up every time I mention Gervin, where Nick Saban landed a helicopter at his high school while recruiting him. So don't forget that. But I think outside of Gervin, I think that it's a big opportunity for Avante Williams. Avante Williams got a pick. I think it was either the second scrimmage or the first scrimmage.
The first one.
But
first one.
Yeah, first one. And the thing is, everyone's been talking highly of him. I mean, he's basically soaking everything up like a sponge. He loves football. And it's not like he took a year off to kind of deal with medical issues, but I think that he still put in the work. He's still been studying. I'm really excited for him now because I definitely think he's going to be in the rotation somehow, some way, and especially with I think they mentioned that they've been trying Williams at both free safety and strong safety. So there's a lot of versatility, a lot to work with him, and like you guys mentioned, Cam Kitchens. I mean, I think that he's more of a free safety, but I think that with him having a leg up in the defense and the playbook, it definitely gives him a huge opportunity to play this season as well, to kind of take less pressure off of Gervin Hall and Bubba, to keep them well and rested. And who else? I have a list of guys I want to see Saturday. Oh, obviously the receivers, 2 of them, Rambo, and I just want to. The thing is, a lot of guys you've heard the stats and you've seen their performance of the scrimmages, but I'm excited to just see them in person. It's not just like.
Here's the thing, right? How exciting is it that we can name and Danny was talking about this. There's depth now, right? So we can just name names. We're excited to see this one. We're excited to see that one. We even saw a highlight of Daz Worsham just mossing someone last week at the scrimmage, right? And he stepped in front of a ball and he snatched it. So like even Daz Worsham, who by the way was another kid who was committed to Alabama and then decommitted to Miami. So, and we haven't even heard his name at all. You're probably going to get to see him. And as Brad mentioned here, you're going to see a full out competition at the wide receiver position. And then at running back, you only have Cam Harris and Rooster, right? Jalen Knighton. You don't even have the kid Brown on campus yet, right?
No. I think because they're going to count forward so he can't come into the fall.
Right.
And also Chaney is out for a bit as well.
Yeah, Chaney's out, and shoulder injury, and then Thad Franklin's not on campus yet either. So you got 2 running backs, which by the way, Cam Harris looks like he stepped up his game a little bit after we kind of gave him a hard time as well, right, for watching those videos. Danny, we've been talking a lot about the defense and Cam Kitchens and Avante Williams and Tyreek Stevenson and. By the way, on the opposite side is probably going to be Isaiah Dunson, I think, right? That's going to probably have to start DJ Ivey also. because Al Blades is going to be out also. So, but let's really talk about what we came here for, man, and that's the offensive line, right? The big uglies. No, I'm just playing, but the offensive side of the football, just period as a whole, as Brad mentioned, big time competition at wide receiver. You're going to see a lot of four receiver sets, right? You're going to see the guys throwing the ball up and down the field. So gives an opportunity for the defense to make plays on defense from a cornerback and safety perspective, and even at the striker position. But you also want to see who's going to step up at wide receiver, right? We're seeing multiple guys do it. First, we saw Xavier Restrepo. Then we saw Rambo and D. Wiggins. Are we going to see Michael Redding? Are we going to see Keyshawn Smith, who kind of faded out a little bit? We haven't heard too much about him lately. Is he going to come back, and is he going to kind of play well? Is Mark Pope finally going to wake up this spring and put his name in the stat sheets as well? We know we're going to get from Mike Harley, so I'm not even worried. I'm not going to talk about him. But, I mean, Danny, what do you expect to see on the offensive side of the football with zero tight ends literally playing, basically?
I expect to see a lot of looks at wide receiver. I would love to see Charleston Rambo kind of build off what he did in the second scrimmage, because if he can show consistently over these next couple of weeks that he can be a 100-yard receiver, game after game, then that's another weapon Miami has. And then you talk about a guy like Xavier Restrepo. We were talking, I think, in the last show about how he's kind of emerged in the absence of some wide receivers earlier in spring practices. Now it's his chance to kind of really show that he's learned a lot, he's worked hard, and he's ready to make the most of this opportunity. Because when you look at the wide receiver position, it is very crowded right now. So there aren't a ton of snaps to go around individually. So the wide receiver unit, I expect them to really play hard and try to make their best impression on the coaching staff, because I think it's going to be a dogfight for snaps. It's something that we're going to have to watch come August too.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think what you're going to see this Saturday, Paul, you're going to be right there, man. So you're going to be able to kind of see everything that's going on. Is you're really going to see guys fighting hard, because we've mentioned this before when Jock was on. Him talking about what spring is all about. It's all about competition, because this is really what's going to kind of, dictate who is going to be on the top of that depth chart come August, right, when practice starts, and especially this year, man. You got to get ready for, arguably the number one team in the country again, because we keep talking about how these guys are, down and out, and they've lost 17 different players, and they just get 17 different studs back. So it's going to be interesting to see. Paul, please, obviously you'll keep us updated, and we might do a little something. What time is game time on Saturday?
I believe it's 11 a.m.
You better get there on time then, boy. I'm telling you.
I will try not to run on Miami time. I promise you. I'll try my best.
11 a.m. on the ACC network. On ESPN. So make sure you guys tune into that and check that out. Real quick before we wrap up, because we only have about 4 minutes left. Some recruiting news. By the way, I misspoke earlier, Paul. Paradise Camp is back, but it's not June 1st. June 1st is just a dead period, like you mentioned, is going to be lifted. So teams will be able to contact players again. But it looks like it's going to be sometime in June, maybe towards the end of June. So that's going to be exciting, because we've got a great list of visitors coming in. I believe starting in June. What do you got there? And by the way, this is courtesy of some of the other guys as well who have kind of posted this list: Brad Tejeda and Gabby Arusha and some of the other folks that have put up this list. So definitely want to give them props for it. What do we have as far as some big names that are going to come in?
Oof, it's a long list that keeps growing bigger as time goes on. And I think that Miami is definitely going to make the most out of the dead period being lifted. I mean, the list goes on and on. I think two notables, are Lynne Moss, the receiver out of Louisiana. Great tape, honestly. Great tape on him. Very, very quick feet. Really great route runner. And Jordan Allen, who I believe is from that area as well. I don't know. I'm not trying to remember if it was.
That's a big time guy there. Cornerback, right? Cornerback out of
cornerback.
Louisiana.
Yes.
Yeah, Jordan Allen.
Obviously, position of need. And it's going to be huge. I think one thing that worries me with Louisiana prospects is that LSU is always going to get the first pickings at who they want, and
Yeah, but
then
we've had some good luck with guys out of Louisiana lately as well, though. So I
yeah,
mean, we're making some headway there again, and we've had sort of a pipeline before in the past in Louisiana also. So if you can get some of the top guys in Louisiana, and of course LSU is going to take some of those guys, but
yeah,
there it is, Wesley Bassane, who's obviously probably our number one linebacker on the board. Nigel Kelly, who's committed to FSU right now, looks like he may be a flip candidate. And yes,
yes. Oh,
26 is a rumored date. Omar Graham, Marvin Jones, you got it there. Earl Little, Jacoby
Travis
Spells.
Lathan,
I
Corey
mean,
Thomas.
look at that list,
It
fellas. Look at
yeah,
that
that
list.
they're gonna make the most of that first day. It's
Yep.
incredible, and it's guys. And let's go to June 11th. Troy Brown's making his OV. He's bringing Isaiah Bond with him as well as Quan Lee from Gainesville. Jacoby Spells, that long wiry corner from American Heritage. And even June 18th, I mean, you have Kamari Rogers, and then Landon Ibieta, and then you have Nick Cole. Sorry, I didn't call him Landon Moss. I don't know why I called him Landon Moss earlier. Landon Ibieta. I
Yeah,
don't know
that's
why.
a big name. That's a big name to
Yeah.
watch. You know who I like a lot is Bo Atkinson, the kid from North Carolina. I can't wait to see him
Oof.
get on campus. That might be a huge get. He is a big dude. He's college ready right now. If you look at him, the kid's big, man. He reminds me a little bit of. He's got that Ryan Kerrigan mold. He looks a little bit like that Ryan Kerrigan type, like the Joey Bosa's. He looks like that, and
Yeah.
it's pretty exciting because he's a big time prospect. So I know we have him coming out. And Chris Graves, that's another big-time prospect as well. So a lot of big-time guys coming out. I do want to see eventually, oh, my God, Colin Hurley. That kid's a stud, man. That kid is an
Who's
absolute stud. He's going to be here in 2025, but still.
one name that I am intrigued about is he's coming cross country. He's coming from all the way from Washington State. Is Malik Agbo, a lineman out of Federal Way, Washington, Todd Beaver High School. He is the 31st ranked offensive tackle in the nation.
Okay.
I find it interesting because it's going to be hard to convince a guy like that to leave home across the country, like literally corner to corner, and come to Miami. But I mean, from what I'm hearing, it's a lot of good things. I mean, his interest is genuine. But Miami's competing with the best of the best for this kid. You have your Bamas, you have your Oregons, you have your LSU's, you have your Oklahomas involved. So this is going to be an interesting pull. But I mean, I'm excited to see Garen Justice work his magic, as well as just what Miami can do, bringing in so many prospects this early in the recruiting process. I guess it is different because of the early signing period or whatever. But I'm excited to see what they can do, and especially now where Miami is really on the up and up. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, that's some huge news there. And the kid that recently came about also is the offensive tackle from Texas that Brad just mentioned, Cam Williams. As we already have a Cam Williams on board, so why not? It doesn't hurt to have another Cam Williams. He will be at a satellite camp, according to Brad Tejeda here. So apparently we're having a satellite camp with SMU prior to his official visit date, which is nice, on the 11th. So that's pretty cool also. So a lot of things going on. And that spring game, again, is 11 o'clock. We want to thank Paul. Want to thank Danny Gillette. By the way, make sure you guys tune in on the YouTube as Canes Flow on the Miami Flow show on YouTube at 8:45 p.m. You can check that out also on the YouTube network, as well as we are part of. So thank you guys for giving us a platform. Also, again, follow us at 6 Rings Canes on Twitter, and also make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Show us some love there. Give us a thumbs up. We'll be on every Thursday. Thank you guys for joining the 6 Rings Canes show. Paul and Danny, Manny Chang, thank you so much, my brother. Go Canes. We'll see you guys later next week.